Hi guys, Jamie from Boxing Life, and welcome to the channel. Sorry I'm a bit late coming onto this stream, and I just had a couple of technical difficulties just setting up there. But yeah, anyways, I just thought I'd go over some of the fights of the weekend. Is obviously quite a big weekend of boxing, so yeah, I'll go over the Shields versus Marshall fight, the Wilder Helenius event, and also Haney Kambosos. And yeah, just give you my thoughts. So I'll start off with the boxer event, which was the Shields versus Marshall, which was actually ended up being a really good fight. I enjoyed it. And I'm not a big follower of like women's boxing. I do watch it if there's a big fight on like this, but I'm obviously aware of Clarissa Shields. She is a very good fighter, and I think she proved that last night. And personally, I thought it was quite strange tactics from Savannah Marshall, just the way she was like walking into Clarissa Shields. Especially because she was the bigger fighter, and that was obviously part of the tactics was to use her size to see how Shields would react. And I think overall, I felt those kind of first 5 rounds, Shields pretty much looked pretty comfortable for me. I think you know, in the pocket defensively. She used a lot of waist movement, was able to get out of the way pretty well with footwork, and her counter punching was really good. I thought it was a really good performance, and yeah, I just felt kind of it was a bit not naive, but I understand the tactics of Marshall wanting to use her size, but I think Shields proved she does have an elite skill set for that level. And yeah, I just think it's quite strange. Obviously, Marshall came back into it around kind of the mid rounds, started landing on the body of Shields, and yeah, it was kind of a bit too late at that point. And this is kind of my criticism of women's boxing is that it's the 2 minute rounds. It can be quite it's great in the sense that it's so fast paced, but it's bad in the sense that in terms of scoring the rounds, um, it can make it quite difficult. And I'll get onto that for the Mayer and Baumgardner fight in a sec. But for this, I think those first 5 rounds I gave to Shields is pretty comfortable. Marshall kind of came back into it in the later half, but then I felt Shields kind of won it back in the eighth and the 10th for me anyway. Just from looking at my scorecard here. So yeah, no, I think it was good. I'd like to see it again. Who knows? Maybe a 3 minute rounder, might actually benefit someone like Marshall in terms of using her size a bit better. But yeah, I think overall Shields really did dominate the fight. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. And yeah, so overall, good fight, good performance from Shields. And I think she answered all the questions in terms of facing a bigger puncher by just using her skills. And her defensive movement and her ring IQ was just a lot better. And credit to Marshall. She is quite an awkward fighter. She did try to find different angles on Shields, but she just really couldn't get it to work. And I would have liked to see her kind of get behind her jab a bit more and try and make Shields come to her, but is what it is. And yeah, I don't know where kind of Shields goes from here. A rematch would be good, I guess. Maybe with Marsha, I'd like to see it again, but she's she's kind of proven everything at this point. The only thing I can think of is should she go up in weight potentially. So yeah, I'm sure we'll find that out soon. And in the next fight, or the fight before, we had Mayer versus Baumgardner, which there was I don't know if you guys saw like the press conferences and stuff like that. It was a bit fiery between these two. So yeah, I think that it was getting quite a lot of hype in terms of who would win this one. Like I said just before, I'm not too knowledgeable in both of them. I've seen Mayer fight a couple of times, and Baumgardner, obviously that Terry Harper win. So yeah, I was quite open in terms of my views, and I didn't really know who would win going into it. I kind of, just because I'd seen a bit more of Mayer, I thought, and she gets quite well behind her jab, and yeah, I just picked her as kind of the favorite going into it. But there's quite a lot of controversy. I think some people were saying it was a robbery, and I can understand that. I felt Mayer kind of dominated the kind of middle rounds pretty well, whereas Baumgardner was kind of looking to counterpunch and move around the ring. And yeah, I think it was a good styles make fights. I think it was quite a good stylistically. It was kind of good for both of them, and yeah, it was just I personally had Mayer winning the fight overall. In my scorecard, I had Baumgartner only win 4 rounds, whereas Mayer, for the rest, I think she kind of nicked it at the end for me, and that's what I saw quite a lot of people showing for this. And the jab of Mayer for me was quite notable. She was throwing it a lot, but she was hitting the guard quite a lot. But when they were kind of in the pocket, that's when Baumgardner would kind of really start to connect with on Mayer into the body and up top as well. And yeah, I think it was a close fight. I wouldn't have called it a robbery at first. With my scorecard, I kind of felt like, oh, I'm pretty sure Mayer won that. And you never like to be wrong with your scorecards. You always think you're right, but in the case of this, it did make me kind of think. And I looked at the CompuBox stats, and here you can kind of tell, maybe how Baumgardner won it towards the end of the fight. You guys can pause the screen if you can't see, but basically, in those, last 3 rounds, Baumgardner was landing more on Michaela Mayer, and look at the last round. She landed 19 punches on her, and obviously you look at like the jabs. It was all about the jab with Mayer, whereas it was the power punches with Baumgardner. And yeah, it just, I guess for the judges, it just depends what you like. Was it those kind of explosive, cleaner shots from Baumgardner, or was it the kind of ring generalship from Mayer kind of controlling her with the jab and the pressure? So yeah, obviously Baumgardner won the fight, and I'd like to see them run it back again. I think it was a very close fight, and I think, like I said just before, and when I was going over the Sheilds kind of Marshall fight just a second ago, it's the 2-minute rounds for me. Just that's the issue. It's the 1 minute, the first minute. Sorry, Mayer's dominating with the jab, and then the second minute, Baumgardner's connecting with some nice shots on the inside, power shots, and then it's the end of the round. And that's my kind of issue. I get really frustrated watching women's boxing for these closer fights, because if that minute just went a bit longer, you'd probably see more knockouts as well, or a more definitive win for either fighter. It can be quite difficult to score some fights. But yeah, you got to give credit to Baumgardner. She worked well from the outside. She took her opportunities. But yeah, we'll see what happens with that one. If you guys are just joining, make sure to comment in the chat. I'll probably quickly answer some questions at the end around this weekend, so I'll make sure to answer at the end. And next up, who did we have? Yeah, so Wilder, Helenius, and this is obviously Wilder's comeback after the Fury event, and it's a good matchup, let's be honest, for Wilder to come back. Helenius, he's not the greatest in the world, but he's got a pretty decent record. He had those good wins over the Polish heavyweight, Klonowaki. I think that's how you pronounce it. But yeah, so it was a good comeback fight for Wilder, and there was always the potential Helenius could, I think that's how you pronounce his name, could get an upset. And if you didn't see it already, obviously Wilder got a first round knockout, and yeah, you got to give Wilder credit. He kind of was boxing in the back foot. He was just taking his time, and he's done that in the past. Look at the Luis Ortiz fights; he did that too, and yeah, he got him cleanly. And this is just a little screenshot of Helenius. He kind of rushed in towards the end of that round through the left, this kind of like wide looping left, and then as you can see, Wilder just had the perfect opportunity to throw that right hand. And you can kind of see it here. I've got some ringside footage, which I'll show you in a sec. Obviously, I can't show you the clip from PBC, or else I'll get a strike against my YouTube page, so I can't do that. But yeah, it wasn't even like a full connection with the right hand. You didn't get the full leverage, which is just shows you the power Wilder possesses. And look at Helenius, his like eyes are pretty much rolling into the back of his head there. Wilder is a dangerous man. There's no denying that. And this is just the clip here. And the proof is in the pudding there. It's like I said, he didn't even get the full leverage of his right hand. It was just a sharp, straight, really sharp, close up kind of right hand. And yeah, fair play to Wilder. I think it's a bit of a statement. If I was a heavyweight, I wouldn't want to be going in with him. So it'll be interesting to see who he fights next. There's been the chat about potentially Ruiz, going in with him next. That's a fight I'd like to see. Quite stylistically, would be quite interesting. That kind of Mexican style Ruiz, he's a bit smaller, and then obviously just the power of Wilder. He's got those long arms. Could he just do what he did to Helenius? I think he would. Let's be honest, to most heavyweights. And then there's chat about the Joshua fight as well next, but I can't see that happening, if I'm being honest. I think there's that real, like the Matchroom and the Al Heyman thing, they just don't work together, and with PBC, so it'll be very hard to see that fight happen. You never know, but we'll see what happens. But it's good to see Wilder back, proving us all wrong as usual with getting his knockouts. Who we got next? Oh yeah, Plant. Obviously, Dirrell was another big fight this weekend, and Plant's first comeback from the Canelo fight. So I think there's a lot of questions whether is Plant the real deal, and Dirrell, solid, good opponent. He had a good win, I believe, in his last fight, that uppercut, where he knocked out that guy with that uppercut. It was tremendous. So yeah, it was a good matchup in the super middleweight division. Obviously Dirrell is a bit older, so it was a good comeback for Plant. And I have to admit, one of the things I noticed from watching this fight was Plant was going to the body of Dirrell throughout this whole fight. And it was working. And obviously the good old saying is attack the body and the head will fall. And if you guys watch the fight, that's exactly kind of what happens. He was targeting the body. And if any of you guys box, you'll know if you keep getting hit to the body over and over and over again, eventually, it, it's just a natural reaction. You lower your guard. It just happens. And he obviously got tremendous. It was a double left hook, but the way he did it was great. He targeted the body, and then he had a slight pause in for the next punch, and by that point, Dirrell was coming back with his hook, but that's when he opened himself up for the left hook up top for Plant, and it was just a tremendous setup. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed his performance last night. He just looked really polished, and I think that was a good comeback fight. But I think with that now, we need to see him face someone like Benavidez or Charlo now going into a huge fight again. And yeah, I'll show you this. I've got a clip of that left hook you guys can check out just now. And I'll play that once more. You'll just see he just has a slight pause with the hook that knocks out Dirrell. It's great. And I don't know if you've seen it, then he started kind of doing as if he was digging Dirrell's grave. So, like, a bit disrespectful, you never know. Dirrell could have been really badly hurt, but, this sport can be savage sometimes, the egos. And that's why we love this sport sometimes. Let's be honest. But yeah, I think overall a good comeback from Plant. And if you look at the CompuBox stats, as you can see, Plant was going to the body quite often to Dirrell, and that was obviously part of the game plan. Dirrell's, I believe he's 37, 38. He's getting older, and yeah, it was a good tactics from their team. Obviously, Plant dominating with the jab, and yeah, the stats themselves, I know sometimes they don't tell the full picture of the fight, but in this case, looking at this, yeah, it tells the whole story. So yeah, overall, good comeback fight, and I'm looking forward to see him get into a big fight next with someone like Charlo or Benavidez. And then the last fight I just wanted to go over was Haney versus Kambosos. And obviously, I think a lot of people were, this fight, not too many people were really interested, if I'm being honest. I think after the first fight, it was pretty clear that Haney was going to win this again, But saying that, I very much expected Haney to win again. But when I saw the weigh-in of Haney, he looked like a skeleton. I was shocked by how bad he looked on the scales, and you can see his eyes are kind of sunken in there, and that's compared to the first fight. And I was kind of thinking, oh, is it just the lighting, maybe? But yeah, I was quite worried for Haney after I saw this. I wasn't. I was like not sure about, if he could, perform the way he did in the first fight. After seeing this, you see this so much, like so many times with fighters that come in to make the weight, and the performance is just not good enough. But you got to give credit to Haney. I think he once again kind of performed the way we expected, and he used that jab amazingly well again, and just timed Kambosos coming into range. And the good thing about Kambosos, he did change up the tactics in those opening rounds. He would shift and turn into a southpaw stance to try and change the angle, and he would go to the body of Haney. He was using that double left hook pretty well, and he was connecting. He was actually, he wasn't so much on the end of Haney's punches in those in the opening rounds of the fight, but Haney overall, once again, he just really had to just react to Kambosos, and that suits Haney's complete style. He is an outboxer. He likes fighting on the outside, using his jab, timing you with the right hand, and that's once again, that's kind of all he had to do. And yeah, as you can see there, he just timed him with the right hand. As Kambosos had to close the distance. And the thing with Kambosos as well, he is more of a counterpuncher, and it suits him when he's on the back foot. So it's him having to come forward against an elite level outboxer is always going to be a hard thing for Kambosos. It was always going to be a hard fight again. I thought maybe after seeing that weigh-in, he might have a better chance. But in terms of the two fighters, Haney is just stylistically is just wrong for Kambosos at the end of the day. And I, no disrespect to Kambosos, I think he's a very good fighter, but Haney at the end of the day, he's just better, and stylistically just doesn't match up when these two fight each other. And this is just a look at the CompuBox stats, and interestingly, you kind of see Haney didn't really go to the body as much, whereas Kambosos was clearly wanting to slow him down. And you can just look at the jab. Through 255 jabs, connected 88, 35% connection rate. And even the power shots from Haney as well. Like I said, he was just able to connect with Kambosos when he was coming into range. And yeah, it's just, yeah, you look at the total in terms of what was landed, 202 to 76. That just says the whole story. Kambosos is an aggressive counterpuncher. He's not a pressure fighter. And that once again played in the hands of Devin Haney. And he continues being undisputed. And yeah, I'm interested to see who he fights next. Obviously there's the chat about Lomachenko, Shakur Stevenson moving up in weight. These are fights I want to see. I'd love to see these fights happen. I think maybe the Lomachenko fight is more likely to happen. What do you guys think? I'd love to hear. And yeah, that guys kind of wraps up just my thoughts on this weekend, but I'll kind of go through any questions you have quickly. If you just give me 1 sec, I'll just have a quick look. Dexter, who should Caleb Plant fight next? Personally, I think I'd like to see Benavidez or Charlo. Simple as that. These other top super middleweight guys, they need to fight each other. They're all under the same network. There's no excuses for these guys not to fight each other. It's just dragging on now. And the other good thing, these are big fights. People are going to tune in. They're going to pay pay-per-view to watch it. So yeah, that's the fight I'd like to see. Dexter. Prince, thanks for joining again, man. I appreciate it. Can Wilder and Plant come back to championship status? Who do you think should they fight? Obviously, I just touched on Plant just there. In terms of Wilder, I mentioned just before, Ruiz or Anthony Joshua are the fights I'd like to see, but realistically, I think probably for Wilder, it will be Ruiz or potentially Sanchez. The Cuban that was also in the undercard of that event. I think they're obviously both under that same banner with PBC, so I think that's quite an a likely fight to happen. Usyk is another option, but it all depends what happens with Tyson Fury, because I think Usyk would prefer to be undisputed. So, maybe that could be a fight. Wilder Usyk. Matt, I'd be interested to see that as well. How would Wilder deal with the movement? And then there's also, could Usyk stand up to the power of Wilder? So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Let's have a look. JD05, I wonder if Wilder will squeeze another fight in by 2022. I doubt it. I think we'll see him out again, probably maybe February, March again. he'll only want the big fights now. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Prince, again, thanks for the comment. Can Plant beat Benavidez in your opinion? Yeah, I think that's a good 50-50 matchup, if I'm being honest. I think you've got Benavidez, who, he is a good, pressure fighter in the sense that he can, he likes to walk down your opponent, and that stylistically, Plant likes to fight in the back foot. But Benavidez has quite a compact guard where, he'll take a shot and then he'll catch and counter with his shots. He's very good at that. And yeah, I think that'll be interesting. But the big thing for me about Benavidez, I could see him totally walking down Plant, but as we saw in this fight against Dirrell with Plant did very well targeting the body of Dirrell. And I believe, that's the kind of thing Plant would do to Benavidez. He would just keep going to Benavidez's body. So very interesting fight. I think Plant could beat Benavidez, but at the same time, Benavidez could definitely beat Plant. So, hopefully that one will happen soon. D Green, thanks for the comment. Plant looked great. I want to see that Benavidez fight and rematch with Canelo. Yeah, potentially. You never know down the line what could happen. If let's say Plant goes on to beat Benavidez and Charlo, then that builds up a really good fight again for a rematch with Canelo. You never know what might happen in the future. JD, very upsetting that we probably won't see AJ versus Wilder. Yeah, I agree. I think it will be very difficult to see that fight happen. Prince, again, thanks for the comment. What do you think about the way Plant celebrated after the KO? Like I just said when I was going over it, it was quite, it is quite disrespectful, and you never know what will have happened to the guy. Will he be seriously hurt? Could he have? You just never know. But I believe there was quite a lot of bad blood between the two. So, it is what it is. This is a blood sport at the end of the day. This is why people tune in. They love this kind of that type of kind of drama, don't they? But personally, if it was me, obviously I wouldn't do it. But that's Caleb, for you. Let's just have a look. Sorry, I'm just looking for these comments to see if there's any more. Sorry, I'm seeing there's chat between D Green and Dexter about Plant and who you should fight. D Green, yeah, Charlo or Andrade. Yeah, I guess people aren't really talking about that. Andrade could be a good fight as well. Crisscross 280, thanks for the comment. Who do you think had the better chance of the fight happening and winning against Haney, Loma, Tank, or Shakur? I'm thinking maybe like I think out of all of them, I think Loma beats Haney. But I think for some reason I think Shakur beats Loma. I think they all kind of beat each other, but they don't. Out of all of them, who's the best? It's really difficult to say. Loma is such a good fighter, and he's just, could Haney deal with the kind of the angles Loma could create? Shakur Stevenson and Haney, that's another interesting matchup. If you've ever seen the sparring between the two, it's Shakur, in my opinion, kind of dominates Haney in the sparring, which is interesting. And there's obviously that southpaw matchup. So yeah, it's hard. I would really need to sit down and analyze them properly before I make a judgment. But yeah, it's a difficult one, man. Who would win, Tyson Fury versus Usyk? I'm going for Fury. I think just the size, is too big for Usyk, and Fury's also a very good boxer. I think he would just make it really messy for Usyk. He would lie on him. He would not fight. Well, yeah, he would fight a bit dirty to get the win. JD again, thanks for the comment. Wilder versus Joe Joyce. Yeah, that could be a really good fight. I'd like to see that. They would just be, well, Joe Joyce would just be coming forward. And that's the thing, Joe Joyce gets caught coming into range. So yeah, it could be a dangerous fight for more for Joe Joyce than Wilder, in my opinion. But Joyce, he's just like a wrecking ball. He just keeps coming forward. And let's say he was to take the power of Wilder, could he cope with it? Yeah, probably not. He's a big puncher, Joyce, but it's more just the consistency of it. He just keeps throwing, he just keeps coming forward. And we saw that in the kind of the Tyson Fury Wilder fights that Wilder eventually just gasses out. So, but yeah, that could be a potential good fight. Thomas Evans, wasn't impressed with Wilder's win, to be honest. Helenius not a top contender at all. Yeah, I see your point there. Like I said, there's better heavyweights out there that he could have fought, but this is very much good matchmaking from PBC just to get him back fighting again. I'll answer a few more questions, guys. I'll just try and get through these quickly, and then I'm going to have to call it a day. Who we got? Prince again. Oh, sorry. What are your thoughts on some or even most of the fighters testing positive on PEDs, and do you think their excuses are valid? Well, obviously, I don't want to see it in the sport. I don't want to see the guy who's juiced up the most. It doesn't make sense to me. I like to see the sweet science and who's the better fighter. I don't like the fact, someone's getting juiced up to try and be more powerful or stronger. It does affect the fight. And in terms of their excuses, everyone's responsible for their actions at the end of the day, regardless if they didn't mean to. If they hire the wrong people, that is their fault and they have to accept responsibility. But, people make mistakes. I think it happens all the time. Everyone makes mistakes. But in terms of with this, this is life and death in some cases. And that's why I'm really, I believe these guys deserve big bans. It's the only way to stop people from taking PEDs or hiring guys that can kind of break the cycles and all that. So yeah, well, totally. It's their, at the end of the day, it's their responsibility, and they have to, deal with the consequences. So I've just seen it. Can Floyd Mayweather beat the GOAT Deji? Says it all, really. It's so weird. I saw that get announced. I was like, what the hell is this? Is this real? I couldn't believe it. But yeah, I've not watched any of his exhibitions. The last one I did kind of watch was the Mayweather Conor McGregor, and then after that, I've not even bothered. And let's see. JD, did you see the post-fight press conference? I've not seen it, but I saw something about him getting quite emotional. His ego got really damaged after that third fight with Fury, so that's probably why I got quite upset. D-Gray, that's great. Haney Shakur, yeah. I recommend you watch the sparring session. You can look up on YouTube. And for me, Shakur wins it. Jacob Evans, what's next for Kambosos? I don't know, actually. I think he needs to go back to the drawing board. I believe, could a fight with maybe Shakur Stevenson or Lomachenko, that could potentially be a next fight for Kambosos, or does he fight kind of a lower contender and try and build his way back up. Dexter, did I can't remember if I answered this. Who should Devin Haney fight next? I think I said kind of Lomachenko or Shakur Stevenson make the most sense. He's undisputed champion now. He needs to fight the top guys. If he fights some nobody, it's going to look really bad on him. Chris Cross 280. You think Fundora is ready for Charlo? Probably not. I think he still needs a couple more fights. I think he is very dangerous. He's, because of his size, he can fight on the inside or he can fight from range, and he does have power. He just has big leverage. And yeah, he's a bit of a freak. He's so big for that weight, and I can't get my head around it. But he's actually on the inside when he's fighting with guys. He's very good for considering his size, and he's able to he changes the angle with his hooks and his uppercuts. And guys just they think they can just target the body, and when they're going to the body, that's when he comes in with an overhand hook and stuff like that. And yeah, he's a weird fighter, but yeah, I think a couple more fights and then he could get Charlo. UT Cars, the WBC already had Wilder at number 1, coming off 2 losses and a draw. They're lining up a 4 Fury fight because it doesn't sell with anyone else. I see your point there. I think, but there, like I said just before earlier in the chat, there is also the potential fight with Ruiz or Sanchez, who are in the PBC banner, and those are quite big fights. Personally, I'd like to see the Ruiz fight, but yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. I think the Ruiz fight would definitely sell a lot. And I think stylistically, it's quite a good, interesting clash. You've got Ruiz, very quick hands, smaller guy, good head movement, whereas Wilder, will look to go on the back foot and set him up with the right hand as he's coming into range. So personally, I'd quite like to see that fight. And if you guys have any last questions, I'll answer a few more, and then that will be me, guys. Do you get Fondo as a created character? Yeah, like I said, he's such a weird looking guy. It's fun. I think there was an interview that it's because of his appearance, he's yeah, I look like a nerd or whatever, but he's deadly. He's a deadly man. It's funny. Crazy D3, will we ever see Spence Crawford? I really hope so. There was obviously all the rumors that it was going to happen in November, but then there's some issue with Crawford being able to see some of the profits or how much the event makes or something like that for him to be able to fight, for him to be able to see how much the event makes. They're not showing him all the information, and that's what's delaying it. But let's hope by the start of 2023 this fight gets done. It's a huge fight and it has to happen, but it's just taking forever. And I think people are just getting a bit fed up. Same with the whole Fury versus Usyk, Fury Joshua. People are just fed up of all the chat. We just want to see the fights now. JD05, how good is Sanchez? Are you talking about? I believe it's the heavyweight Sanchez you're talking about. Yeah, he's good. Very good movement. He's obviously born and bred in that Cuban school. So yeah, he's top. He's a top fighter. And I think anyone will struggle with his movement. And he does have power as well. I like him. I think he will cause any heavyweight some problems just due to his footwork and movement. And his counterpunching's good too. I think it was Ajagba, the guy, the Nigerian heavyweight. That performance said a lot for me. I think that showed that he is. You need to take him seriously. I wouldn't be surprised if some of the top guys kind of avoid him for a while. Flip Jackson, would you like to see AJ Wilder? I think, yeah, absolutely. I think we all want to see that fight, let's be honest. And will it happen? I don't know. We've kind of already discussed this in the chat. It's the whole promotional clash between Matchroom and PBC. I just can't see it happening. JD, what top lightweights do you favor Tank Davis over? I have Tank over Garcia. I think Ryan Garcia is a wild card. I think he could probably beat all the lightweights with just one punch. But in terms of his overall skill wise, I think Tank's just a better fighter, if I'm being honest. I think Tank also beats Haney as well. I think he's just the power of Tank is he's proved his power, and I think he could cause some real damage there. I think Loma gets the better of him, and I think Shakur gets the better of him. But I think he beats the other guys. Crazy D3, could Andrade get in the mix with Charlo, Plant, and Benavidez? Would he be competitive? Yeah, why not? I think Andrade's awkward as hell. I think he's quite... Who's he most... He's kind of like a mix between kind of Charlo and Plant. And yeah, he could get in the... I'm trying to picture it right now. I think, personally, I think Benavidez, Plant, and Charlo all beat Andrade. However, saying that, I think he makes it a hard fight just due to his awkwardness. He's a southpaw, obviously. He does have weird movement. And he's a really weird fighter, Andrade, in the sense that he always starts the fight very well. You like knock down the guy in the first few rounds, and then he'll kind of gas out. Sorry, I just had to cough there. Prince, is Canelo ducking Benavidez? No, I don't think he is. I think Canelo wants to get the rematch now with Bivol. Benavidez needs to fight Charlo, Plant, or Andrade. That, he needs to stop being focused on the Canelo stuff and get these big fights with Plant, Andrade, or Charlo, because that's what will then give him the opportunity to fight Canelo, in my opinion. We all want to see Canelo versus Benavidez because it would be stylistically an amazing fight. However, Benavidez needs to start fighting top guys as well. D Green, bring back the Super Six. I love that. That was really entertaining. That, but the only issue with when that actually happened was there were so many of the guys got injured and they had to bring in other guys. But I'd like to see the World Boxing Super Series come back. That would be good. Oh, JD, thank you very much for the donation. I appreciate it, man. Do you have a busy day today? Not really. I think I'm going to chill the rest of the day. Hope you're good. Hope you have a good day as well, man. Really appreciate it. And thanks for joining the chat today. Beth, hey, love your channel, man. Great content. I did not expect Plant to KO Anthony like that. Yeah, either did I. I personally thought points. If you go to my community page, you can see my predictions. I almost got them all right. The Mayor Baumgardner one I got wrong, but everyone else I kind of got right in terms of who was going to win. But yeah, Plant, really good performance. He did really well targeting the body of Dirrell, and then that finish was fantastic. Oops, sorry. And guys, I think I'm going to call that a day there. Thank you so much for joining, guys. I'll try and do more of these kind of post-fight weekend reviews. It's great engaging with you guys, and I really appreciate you tuning in. I'm working currently on a Joe Frazier boxing style analysis breakdown. I should hopefully have that out this week. And yeah, I'm really enjoying doing all the research for that breakdown. It's, I'm really starting to appreciate how good Joe Frazier actually was. He was a tremendous fighter. So once again, guys, thank you for joining, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks, guys. Have a good weekend.